Hello, everybody. It is Mike Levin on Wednesday, June 19th, 2019. And this is the latest installment in getting Windows Subsystem for Linux, WSL 2.0, running on my freshly switched over to the Insider Preview version of Windows 10 Pro. And I went through the install. Now that I'm on this program, I in fact see that the installs are pretty much always going on in the background, downloading and installing. It's going to take me a while to get used to that. But when last we left off, I attempted to set my already installed Ubuntu, which I had been using for a couple of years, as long as the Windows Subsystem for Linux has been out, to version 2. And it gave me this message: the requested operation could not be completed due to a virtual disk system limitation. Virtual hard disk files must be uncompressed and unencrypted and must not be sparse. So it occurred to me I could reinstall Ubuntu, but why do that when all my setup and configuration already exists on my existing system? So what I did is I went into PowerShell, which I have here now out on my desktop. I'm not using the keyboard shortcuts that you can see I have set up on these. For example, PowerShell is Control-Alt-H because it does interfere with my screen capture software. So you'll be seeing me do the double clicks, but when I'm running this on my own, I just fire off my keyboard shortcuts and have these things pop up full screen. This is PowerShell, and this is the WSL command. And before I jump in and run it, showing you that I have 2.0 running, all my work is done. This is sort of like pulling it out of the oven in a cooking show. I am going to first show you the -L. We've got the 2 versions installed. And how did I do that? This was my first one. Ubuntu without the 2 after it. These are arbitrary names. That was the one that I could not run as version 2. So if I were to go WSL set version Ubuntu 2, attempting to do that, we're going to see the error that you just saw at the beginning of my YouTube video. That was the problem. So you can WSLH to get the help, and it shows you all the things you can do. And one of them was export distro file name. So all I really did was WSL export Ubuntu, ubuntu.tar. It makes it a tar file. I'm not going to execute that, but if I were to ls here for all the files on my system that are .tar, you will see there is ubuntu.tar there. So the next thing I did was I imported it. Oh, well, the next thing I really did was I set my default version, which changes the default install versions for new distributions. I did set default version to 2. So I guess I can show you that. No harm in doing that again. Set default version to 2. That means anything I import now is going to automatically be set to version 2. And so then I did, well, I have a picture here I can show you. Instead of typing it all out, I imported right back from the location I put it, which happened to be my home directory on my system. I imported it in and put it into a directory location that I had created. I created a VMs directory, and then I listed it, and I saw the 2 there, and then then I did that set version that I had not been able to do before to version 2, and it says it already is version 2 because on the import it set it to version 2. So let's see the import command list set default. Yeah, this is the import command. I showed you the export command over here, and this is the import command. So it's version 2. So without any further ado, you can see that when I do WSL, it just drops me into what is WSL2. You can't see much about it, but I know from using this all the time, some key differences are that I am the root user into a mapped location. My home directory is actually my standard Windows home directory. That's new. So a bunch of stuff had to have actually happened here, and I know that it got some stuff right and it got some stuff wrong just from how it boots in. It has not run my my startup, my bash startup, profile startup shell, and I can show you that by exiting out and then starting the same thing without using the default, which is set to Ubuntu 2. So what I just did there is the equivalent of doing Ubuntu 2. It's the equivalent of that. If I were to hit enter, it would get right back to there. But I'll do my original one. It does not stop you from running your original stuff. And you'll see my startup script, and it puts me into my GitHub directory. And you can see I even made my home directory into GitHub under my home directory here so that it was mapped into Windows space. This was very important for me in the past because your normal home directory, and for those people evaluating WSL versus WSL2, this is a key difference. If I were to CD to my home directory here and then PWD for my current working directory, you can see it does not have that /mount/c/users there. That means it is not mapped into Windows space, and the things located here are inaccessible from the Windows side. What's inaccessible? Well, if I were to ls here, you'd see not very much. The Pi36 is my virtual environment for Python, so I can contain all my dependencies into a single directory. So when we go to Python 3.7, 3.8, whatever, I can have these nice little container files. If I were to cd into there, you can see what a Python virtual env looks like. It's got some very standard Linux, Unix folders there, directories, where it puts dependencies. I'll cd back up, clear, and as you remember, if I ls there, it's only that folder, but if I ls-la, it's a slightly different picture. Some things I live and die by here. The important one really is this, just so that when I start up, it has the basic stuff done. Another one, which I won't be doing in this video, is the keys that I keep in the .ssh directory so I can do my remote terminal work. I'll be doing that on my own without a video due to the sensitive nature of that stuff. But then another one is my .vimrc, and I know that let's see, I know that Vim is working here. So a whole bunch of stuff really did come over. Everything that's in /user local bin and stuff came over, but not everything, not my configuration. And I am in fact root, and I am, well, yeah, that's right. I'm not root here. I'm root when I log in under WSL2. Here, you can tell by a $sign as opposed to, I even have it running here. Let's keep this a nice smooth video. I have PowerShell. There's PowerShell. Oh yeah, I launched WSL1 from PowerShell. So I'll just exit out and show you WSL-D Ubuntu 2. Big difference here is instead of a $sign as a prompt, you've got a hash mark as a prompt. Always an indication that you are super user root. This as well tells you that. And if you were to type, who am I? There's a big difference now. You are a traditional Unix/Linux root user. big deal, big difference. It might be because we're in early releases and they might have in mind setting you to the default user. But if I were to now do the old WSL and I do a who am I, you'll see I have a username that is the same as my Windows user and lowered permissions. So these are some of the differences. The most important thing now is that I want to copy my bash RC over, not my bash RC, but my bash login file. So I know it, I just happen to know it's and this here is Windows space. I'm going to be able to get it over pretty easily as long as, well, let's see. So let's see users. So I'm copying bash profile into this location, which I know is a Windows accessible location. That should be able to serve as a pretty easy intermediary location. And now I exit, and then I start Ubuntu 2, and then I cd into GitHub, and then I cp my bash profile to the directory that's immediately above, which is home. And that should really be it. And as you can see, when I started this up, I did not get my welcome to Lunder-Vand, which I'll be telling you a lot about in the coming months and stuff. It's the name, one of the code names for my work in progress book. Clear. Really, I should just exit and then repeat that exact same command. And if all is good, you're welcome to Lunder-Vand. So I have this and a series of other little touches in order to bring over things that did not survive the automatic switch over to WSL 2. Again, a lot of things seem to have been automatically moved over. Most of my software was moved over, just not some configuration stuff, which is located in the home directory, which I guess I don't even know why it didn't bring it over. I think it should have at this point. But one of the things we do now is I don't even need to sudo anymore. It's apt get update. So I'll first update the Debian Ubuntu repository directory. It's all software that's made for the Ubuntu derivative of Debian. That's where all this DEP stuff comes from. So this now has all the software that's available in the whole world of this Linux distro updated. And then the next thing we do is we update all the software. That was just updating the repo directory. So that's the difference between apt get update and apt get upgrade. And this usually gives you a little warning because it's going to start to take some hardware space. I'll answer yes to that. And you are now seeing the Windows subsystem for Linux, which really is running now, version 2, as opposed to an earlier video where I thought it was running. I do have it running now, and I am updating. Oh, this is a very important one. I am updating all the installed software. So the one I just pointed out was the Google Chrome. So I guess I have Chrome and Chromium installed on my system, which is really the whole reason I'm doing this, because the world is changing in a couple of ways. One being led by Microsoft in shipping Linux with Windows. Very soon, all Windows 10s that ship will also come with the Linux kernel pre-installed, ready to run the rich standard, because Windows is no longer standard, world of free and open source software. There's a close relationship between Windows and a company called Canonical, the company that developed and supports the Ubuntu software. Okay. And the other shift that's going on is that Google has made Chrome and its free and open source Chromium browser controllable from JavaScript or through an API really, and able to run headlessly. And it is also the crawling rendering engine for their Googlebot crawler, which is what goes out and scours the web to build the Google database for search. And in my field of search engine optimization, to have access to those same tools, both for experimentation and automation, is critically important. That's the other world shift. So on the one hand, you've got Windows shipping Linux standard as part of Windows. And on the other hand, you have Google making Chrome API controllable and runnable without the screen showing, so it can run sort of in server mode for automated jobs. And the moment of truth in my mind right now is what I'm about to do. First, we will establish that even under WSL2, I have a graphic subsystem. I do not have a graphic subsystem. This has to do with environment variables. I don't think I am going to be successful in doing this, but it is worth a try. /user /local /bin it's not even there. I had a similar issue in finding it before. So cd/user cd local cd bin ls lsc star. Yep, there is no Chromium in here. So I do have a little bit to do before I can do my acid test to see if I have really succeeded in what I'm trying to do. A certain amount has moved over with this exporting and importing of my old Ubuntu development platform, and a certain amount has not moved over. So I guess I'm going to end it here because I could try and do other things, but I think I've made my point. We have WSL2, which you can tell because when you enter it, and we now get my welcome to Lunder-Vand, you are a root user and it's got a different prompt. And I'm sure there's other ways to tell, and I had to copy over my bash profile to get this. And when I go in under the old way, it is my more familiar virtual. Oh, it won't even see my bash script isn't even probably running successfully because it drops me into my virtual env so that I don't make mistakes with Python dependency installs as I'm developing. I lock myself into this virtual directory. So I have a number of little touches to make this new environment the equivalent of this old environment. And specifically in order so that I can, here's my XIs. I have a little graphic subsystem so that I can run Linux software that requires graphics, and in particular to be able to run this one, user local bin. Maybe it has worked better than I had thought, moving everything over, because I do not see my Chromium install here, although I did in fact have it before. It couldn't be under just user local. No, user bin. Of course, it wouldn't be there. No, it wouldn't, because that's nothing gets installed there. Yeah, all right. So thank you for joining me for the latest installment of my Windows Subsystem for Linux series. And I guess maybe I'll start saying welcome to Lunder-Vand to introduce you to the whole flinging poo magic wand concept of the book coming up. Think Statler and Waldorf. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon. And don't forget to subscribe.